In this video, I'm going to show how I went about hacking the arcade locks that I have on my arcade cabinet so that I could use one key to open all of the locks. Now, one of the locks, the one on the coin box, is an actual keyed lock. The other three locks on this particular cabinet I've modified so they can be opened with any key. But anyway, I'm going to show you how I went about doing it because I didn't need my machine to be locked up like Fort Knox. So I took a standard barrel lock, or whatever type of lock this is. I'm not a locksmith, so I don't know for sure. But the way, you have to remove this pin here because that's what holds the lock together. So in order to remove the pin, it's really critical if you can drill that in the center. So I spot drilled it and then took a look, made sure I was in the center. And since I went ahead and drilled this down. And once you go through the brass, you'll feel the drill bits go up just a little bit deeper before it hits that center shaft. And once it hits the center shaft, you want to drill in it just slightly to mark it because we're going to be grinding out a little bit of it. But in order to tap this, I'm using a 3mm tap, so I need a 2.5mm drill bit. And I drilled that out, and now I'm going to go ahead and tap this. And so what you want to do is slowly tap this, push the tap in and turn, and you will eventually bottom your tap out into that shaft, and it's actually going to go ahead and extract that pin like you see going on here. So if you drill straight, you will get the best results. And here you can see I've been able to remove that pin using my tap. And of course, now I am ready to go ahead and take the lock apart. So if you carefully pull the cylinder out from the back, you'll notice there's pins and springs. You want to separate them. Some of the pins have posts on them, and then you have some that do not. The ones with the post we're going to discard and not use those. So then you can take the cylinder part here, and I'm going to be drilling and tapping that, but we'll do that in a moment. First, we want to take the cylinder. I'm going to be removing some of the material where the arrows are pointing here. One is to make room for a washer or a shim that we're going to use. So we want to make note of the thickness. And here is the setup. I need to grind out the center area here to make room for the set screw because my set screw is a little long. You could also use a shorter set screw, and that would eliminate having to grind out part of that. But the other thing we want to do is grind about half of that shoulder off. So now you can see that shoulder is only about half its width. But now we want to put a washer or a shim on top of that, and I'm just going to make one out of some G10. So I start by drilling a hole that's the size of the shaft, and then I make sure that it's going to fit, and then I go ahead and rough cut my G10 so that I get it in a circle shape or close to a circle shape. And once I do that, then I go ahead and cut it off and then attach this using a drill bit. And once I press it on a drill bit, then I'm able to go back to the sander and sand it smooth or sand it round. And it's not real critical, but the closer you get it to the same size as the cylinder, the better off you're going to be in the end. You do not want it to bind. So here you can see I've gotten it really close. So now I have this where it's ready to go back together. So now I need to go ahead and pre-fit these parts together so that I can drill out and tap this hole where I'm going to be putting a set screw to replace the pin that I removed, because the pin now is not going to stay in the hole. So I drill that out with a number 29 bit, and then I hand tap that, and then I go ahead and run my set screw in. And I want to run the set screw in until it bottoms out, or at least until it clears the threads. And the idea is you want it to be able to go all the way down, but you do not want it to bind on your shaft. So you may have to use a short set screw. But now here are the pins and the springs that we're going to be using. So first you want to set the springs in each one of the holes. I have 7. You may only have 6 depending on the type of lock you have. But then you want to put in the pins, and you want to put them with a round end up. And now we have the pins ready to go, and here's the rest of the parts. So you can see I have my little shim that I made back on the shaft, and now I'm going to take the shaft and set it down through the center, and then I'm going to line everything up and pull it together, and then I want the hole to line up with the outer part so that I can push that together. And once I have that and it lined up, well, now I need to put in the set screw. So I go ahead and put the set screw in as before, and making sure that I do not cross thread it. But once it's in, I make sure the threads are all the way down, at least flush with the top of the other threads. And then the lock is ready to put back together. Now, do remember that any key now is going to open this lock, because all we've really done was remove the part that requires the key to open it. We still have the friction, and that's why I used part of the pins and the springs to create friction on the center part of the lock. That way it doesn't vibrate and move. So the end result here is a cabinet that has one lock that actually requires a key, and then the other locks do not require any specific key to open. And I'm not looking to have my cabinet locked up like Fort Knox, so all I basically need is the locks to hold the doors closed. Either way, if you have any questions on this little project, you can send me an email or leave a comment, and I will get back to you.